combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. And if you've never seen Jimmy Rants before, you have made a really good choice making this your very first time you ever watch Jimmy Rants. If this is your first time, stay tuned. JimmyRants.com is the website, you guys, and you'll see how it works. We start off on Instagram, so go follow me there at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all these beautiful people are doing right now. If you missed the live on Instagram, they do keep it up for 24 hours. So you can watch the replay on Instagram. But if you miss the replay or you just don't do Instagram, that's cool. We have a YouTube channel where we post all of the past episodes. I believe this is episode 140. So we've been doing a bunch of them. A couple times a day we do this. So YouTube, go put in a keyword Jimmy Rants into a word search and you'll find the show. And then finally, we have a Jimmy Rants podcast, which has the best of the best moments of this here show. Go leave us a review on Apple Podcast, JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is the rant of all rants I've ever done. Because I'm sure you have noticed out in the culture that keto is pretty hot, right? And you know that everybody and their mama are talking about a low-carb, high-fat, ketogenic diet. And apparently that doesn't sit well with some people. And one very famous person has made it her mission to try to discourage and destroy keto. You know her from The Biggest Loser television show as the trainer, her name Jillian Michaels. And maybe you've noticed Jillian has been on an anti-keto spurge lately. She's been writing little articles, the truth about keto. And she was dropping hints of this even last year, but since the new year came around and keto is the hottest thing in all of nutritional health, she has been making the rounds, you guys. And I have printed out little quotes from all of these different interviews that she's done about keto. And like I said, she did a whole 5-page blog post about it last year. But I want to go through some of the comments that she has made because I want to tell Jillian Michaels, shut up. Shut up, Jillian Michaels. You don't know jack about keto. You know a lot about fitness and good for you, but you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to keto. I told you this is going to be a rant to end all rants today. Because if I hear one more person say, oh, but Jillian Michaels says this, I'm going to scream, which is why I'm doing this video today. You guys ready? Here we go. All right, so in this article, Jillian says, here's where keto has been getting away with murder. You crash your insulin levels because you're not eating carbohydrates. Jillian, shut up. Shut up. Crash your insulin levels? My dear, you do not want insulin to be high. You want insulin to be lower. Lowering blood insulin levels is not crashing your insulin levels. All right? Let's stop fear-mongering with people. Oh, you're going to crash your insulin level. No, you will not. You will normalize your insulin levels, but you won't crash them. People with insulin-related health issues like diabetes start seeing keto reverse it. Well, yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. And yet you scare them because you say it crashes their insulin levels. She says and admits this is beneficial, but says you can do it with, quote, a common sense diet and zero negative side effects, end quote. What are the negative side effects, Jillian, of keto for someone with type 2 diabetes? What are those negative side effects? I have yet to hear a negative side effect that I believe. And what the bleep does common sense diet mean? Can I just tell you, and she does this later on in some other quotes, she talks about a balanced diet, common sense diet, eat in moderation. You know what that's code for? Low fat. And then where's that gotten us? I'm so sick of the mentality that just eat common sense, as if keto's not common sense. To me, anything that doesn't stoke blood sugar or blood insulin levels is common sense, Jillian. So why are you telling people that they need to do a common sense diet instead of keto when keto is the most commonsensical diet, especially for someone with these insulin-related health issues as you described them? If you're just joining us, I'm doing a rant to end all rants on Jillian Michaels today because she's been all over the media, and I had to print out all of these news stories. She was on like 6, 7 different places where she was quoted bashing the ketogenic diet. And she don't know anything about keto. So we're correcting some of her nonsense here today. She says, when you look at your cells, they're made up of all 3 macronutrients, carbs, fat, and protein. You're literally starving your cells when you are not eating carbs, healthy fats, and proteins. All right. Biochemistry 101, Miss Michaels. You do not need to eat carbs in order to have carbs in the body. What? What does that mean, Jimmy? Let me educate you. Your body is very, very efficient at getting the glucose that it needs for all the functions that are glucose dependent in the body, which is what she's referring to when they say your cells are made up of carbs, fat, and protein. You get all of the carbs, all of the glucose, which is specifically what the carb is in the body, from not carbohydrate, but from the fat and protein you consume. That big long G word we talk about so much, gluconeogenesis. It will create all the glucose your body needs. You don't need to eat carbohydrate. I'm sitting here on day number 6 of doing I'm day number 7 now, of eating a carnivore diet with no carbs at all in the diet. Just fat and protein. And my body's needs for glucose are being met simply by the fat and protein that I'm consuming because of gluconeogenesis. So stop trying to tell people that they're starving their cells when they don't eat carbohydrates. Come on. You know better, Jillian. You really do. And it just sickens me that people will listen to people like you and believe you. She says, to lose weight, you don't need something like keto. You can eat all the macronutrients and get the same goals. Well, guess what, my dear? We have been doing that for millennia. And everybody who has tried a low-fat diet will tell you it failed them miserably. Everybody has told you they had a moderate amount of fat, moderate amount of protein, moderate amount of carbohydrate. That, quote, balanced diet didn't work for them either. So many people who are metabolically broken with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, they got better when they lowered their carbs, moderated their protein, ate more fat, aka keto. I don't understand the vitriol against keto from her. Let's go to the next article. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Jillian Michaels on her anti-keto rampage, and I'm telling her to shut up because she don't know jack about keto. Is the keto diet safe? Here's the thing they're not telling you about keto, says Jillian. It has a ton of oxidative stress on the body. You know what causes oxidative stress in the body more than anything you could eat in your diet? It's not keto. It's carbohydrate. Refined sugars, refined grains, even whole grains, all of those things will put so much oxidative stress on the body, including vegetable oils also. All of that, and for those of you that don't know, oxidative stress is kind of this state where you're becoming inflamed and it could lead to disease forming. So Jillian is trying to make the point that you're going to become diseased by eating keto. And I've yet to meet one single person who's done a well-formulated, real foods-based ketogenic diet that became diseased. No, just the opposite has happened. They haven't gotten diseased. They've gotten cured from disease. And so she throws out terms like, it has a ton of oxidative stress on the body. And most lay people don't know what that means. So, oh my gosh, that sounds horrible. Stress is a bad thing. It doesn't happen. Stop it. Stop scaremongering people. There's 0 calorie restriction, she goes on to describe keto, tons of animal fats and tons of saturated fats. And we're seeing study after study that diets like this are shaving years off of our lives, up to 7 years. Jillian, you are quoting from epidemiological studies. Show me the randomized controlled clinical trial of a ketogenic diet that's well formulated that shows that it is shaving years, up to 7 years, off of your life. It doesn't exist. Nada. It's not out there. So stop it. 0 calorie restriction. Nobody's saying we're gorging ourselves on calories, Jillian. The body is very good at telling us when it's time to eat and when it's time to stop, especially when you eat, quote, tons of animal fat, tons of saturated fat. I'm eating a diet right now that's just meat and animal-based foods that's upwards of 75 to 80% fat, no carbohydrates. And you think I'm shaving years off of my life. That is lowering insulin. That is lowering blood sugar. That is lowering inflammation. That is doing nothing but good things in my body. And yet you want to sit on your high horse and tell people that keto is somehow harming them? I don't get you. The number one insulin sensitizer doesn't require a medical state of emergency, which is what she calls ketosis, for your body like keto. It's actually exercise. Now, I don't disagree with her that an insulin sensitizer is movement. Exercise is very important at sensitizing you to insulin and improving that insulin sensitivity and helping to reverse insulin resistance. But Jillian, you know better than anybody, all those contestants you've had over the years on The Biggest Loser, you know the number one needle mover for lowering insulin levels is not exercise. It's diet. And if you don't get the diet dialed in, it doesn't matter how much exercise in the world you do, you will not out-exercise a bad diet. So you've got to get the diet dialed in. Again, you're convoluting the issue here. You're muddying the waters and you're confusing people with these kind of asinine comments. She said, just don't do keto. How much time do I have? Am I not allowed to swear? Yes, keto is a diet fad. The reason that keto has been getting so much attention is because it does help significantly manage your insulin levels. Very high insulin is a very bad thing. Well, yeah, see, she knows, you guys, the problem. The problem is high insulin. Her solution to high insulin is eat a moderate diet of common sense foods. How did common sense work for you guys? Didn't work very good for me. I tried, quote, common sense. I tried, quote, balance. I tried to moderate my intake. None of that worked until keto came into my life and like a white horse, a knight on a white horse, came in and rescued me from what would have been calamity in my health. Calamity. Maybe to my life. I would probably not be alive today if it weren't for keto. So yes, it riles me up. That's why we call this show Jimmy Rants, by the way, because this kind of nonsense needs to be addressed. She goes on to say, if you're not eating a bunch of processed carbs and processed sugar and you're not eating too much food in general, then you won't have insulin levels that are going through the roof. Jillian, yes, you will. Yes, you will, especially if you've already damaged that process, especially if you already have insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a sign that you have carbohydrate intolerance. So if you tell someone with a significant amount of insulin resistance, even a type 2 diabetic, oh, just eat in moderation, don't eat too many calories, it's just an energy thing and not a quality of those calories thing, you're leading them down the path to more disease. And of course, anytime someone does develop type 2 diabetes and does have to go on medication, the telltale sign that they've been able to heal their bodies with nutrition is by being able to eat those foods and not have to take those medications. And yet people like Jillian want you to eat in moderation, eat whatever, high carb, whatever, and just keep taking your medications. Jillian, I want people off of medications. If they're taking medications for their diabetes, I don't want them to keep taking those medications. And if keto can do that for them, why are you discouraging people from doing something that can make them healthy? That's my problem. That's why you need to shut up, Jillian Michaels, because you really don't know what you're talking about when it comes to keto. But I continue. Calorie management and calorie restriction is less oxidative stress, so it's far better for aging and being healthier. So calorie restriction is the quintessential way to be anti-aging and healthier. How many of you guys went on a calorie restricted diet and you were hungry out the wazoo? I think all of us have. All of us have tried what Jillian is preaching here. How did it work? I don't think it worked very well. It's why people don't stick with that, because your body can only take that kind of stressor. And let's be honest, calorie restriction is a huge stressor. She's talking a lot about oxidative stress, but you want to know what impacts the body worse than anything is putting it under stress, because you're constantly underfeeding yourself nutrition. That's why a nutrient-dense, real foods-based, low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat, ketogenic diet is the answer for so many people, because perhaps for the first time in their life, they pay attention to what they're eating. They're getting good nutrition. They're adequately making sure they're getting all of the vitamins and minerals that their body needs. To me, that's nothing but a good thing. And yet, you listen to people like Jillian Michaels, oh, keto's the devil. No. She says, do not go keto. Just work out, eat clean, and don't overeat. We've all worked out. We've all tried to eat better in our diets, and we've all tried to cut our calories, Jillian. It didn't work. It didn't work. And that's what led us to keto. She says, I promise you, balanced diet, it's just that simple. It is not that simple. If it was that simple, everybody would be doing it. It's not that simple. And so I'm really concerned that people are listening to this nonsense and thinking it's the gospel truth because she's some famous person who's been on television helping people lose weight. Guess what? She don't know jack about keto. And hopefully we're educating not just you guys today, but her as well. The reason keto's been getting so much attention, it helps you lower your insulin. Like she said, a very high insulin is a bad thing. If you're not eating a bunch of the carbs, you won't have insulin through the roof. So we've addressed that one pretty thoroughly. All right. I'm done with Jillian Michaels, because you're going to hear all of this stuff, you guys, in the media from her and others like her. She's not the only one, but she's probably one of the more vocal ones that's been anti-keto. And she's been on this rampage for about a year. She could see keto was rising in popularity. It is now the #1 diet everybody's turning to, and she ain't putting up with it. And that's a shame. Because if your goal is to help people find health, and there are people embracing a low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat ketogenic diet, and they've got lower blood sugar, they've got lower insulin levels, they've got lower inflammation, they're thriving, they're able to go many hours without eating, so that intermittent fasting gives benefits to their body. All of these good things are happening in people's lives, and she wants to discourage people, the very people she's trying to help in her work, from doing keto. I don't have time for you, Jillian Michaels, so just shut up, because you don't know jack about keto. I told you guys this was going to be an epic rant, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in. Bonnie Lene, going to be a good rant today. I hope you enjoyed it. Here we go. She got me steamed up too, says Grandma does keto. She has no college degree, and she's ruined the lives of those Biggest Loser participants, Elle Landry. Yeah, I actually know several of the former contestants on The Biggest Loser, and I've interviewed them on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show, and they've talked about it behind the scenes, that she was great to work with and great as a trainer. And back in the day, she did do carbohydrate restriction with her contestants. And so it's amazing to me the complete turnaround that she's done, a 180 on keto. I think she just feels like, hey, let me be the anti-keto spokesperson and I'll get my name in the news again, because she hasn't really been relevant in years. Keto is threatening her brand, says Nancy. Yeah, because when you've pushed what she's pushed, where does it go? And of course, I wonder how much of Bob Harper, her fellow trainer on The Biggest Loser, having a heart attack because he was doing kind of a lower carb, paleo-ish diet when he had that. I wonder how much of that has influenced her now going anti-keto. I don't know. We know how healthy those people were while filming The Biggest Loser, and she's tongue-in-cheek, says Keto Girl Chris. Yeah, jumping for keto, she annoys me so bad. Well, annoying is one thing, but spreading disinformation is a whole nother thing. I don't tolerate that. It's why I started this show, Jimmy Rants. I wanted to correct the disinformation that gets out there on a daily basis. And we have people like Jillian Michaels putting it out there, then it ain't going to happen. She did not specify who gets the negative effects. Big Pharma, Alberto. Yeah. I hate it when people talk but don't walk it, Bonnie says. Yeah. Kitty Caddick, she's not interested in people being healthy and normalizing their weight because she'll lose her business. And see, Kat, I would think that someone like her would see the big picture. The big picture is we want to see people get healthier. And I guess there's people out there that want to take credit. Hey, look, I've written several books about keto, but if somebody gets healthy on a non-keto diet, I am not going to say, oh my gosh, that ruins my business, and so therefore, no. I'm celebrating that person found their way to health. This kind of competitive advantage thing, I've never understood that. Isn't the goal for us to try to get people as healthy as possible? If it happens to be with a ketogenic diet, great. If it happens to be with a paleo diet, great. If it happens to be with a plant-based type of diet, great. I want to see people get healthy. I don't need credit for that. And yet people like Jillian apparently do. Keto Healing Coach, what's funny on keto, we do get carbs through veggies and nuts. Dairy, where did she get her nutritional training? I don't think she had any nutritional training, to be honest with you. She's a personal trainer, and a lot of personal trainers don't know jack about anything regarding nutrition. They act like they do, but they don't really. Now, you would think in all the years that she's been famous being on television and now she has her own podcast and all this kind of stuff, that she would have learned why this works and why it's indeed a healthy way of eating keto, but she's taken the other direction. True common sense, don't trigger insulin response, how to cook with Vesna. Vesna, you nailed it. Common sense to me and your nutrition is whatever it takes to not have an insulin response. Boom. Cells are made up of about 3% carbohydrates, corrects Alberto. Yes. And again, those carbs can come from the minimal carbs that you consume in your low carb diet, or if you eat zero carb, like I'm doing now with carnivore, your protein and your fats can create that 3% of the carbs that are in your cells. You should have her on your podcast, says Dory. Dory, I've invited her several times to come on. When she first started talking about anti-keto, I thought, okay, let's bring her on. So I invited her, no response. And I've invited her twice more since, no response. Jillian, come here. If you're watching this right now, Jillian Michaels, and you would like to be a guest on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, you are officially invited. I will bump you up to the front of the line. We'll have a conversation. Let's discuss all of these points, because I contend you just don't have your information right about keto. And I've done this for a little while myself, and I've educated myself about keto. I want to help educate you and answer your questions and respond to your concerns about keto. So that's an honest invitation to Jillian Michaels. If she's watching this, reach out to me, send me a message through social media, write to me at livinlowcarbman@charter.net. She should have it because I've written 2 or 3 times before. And let's see what happens. I would love to have that conversation. Kitty Caddick, her system will fail over time or simply won't work. She can blame it on one's willpower, blah, 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 and get people to buy her stuff all over again. Yeah. Her job is in jeopardy, not needed to lose weight or get healthy, said B-Shop. Yeah. Just wish she would have Googled ketosis versus ketoacidosis when she conflated them. And that's not just Jillian. Everybody does that. And I've talked about that one till I'm blue in the face, that they're 2 totally different metabolic states, and yet they do try to equate them with one another. Stay hungry and crave food with her system, says Keto Healing Coach. And that's the thing that's disappointing. What does she do with those clients of hers that don't see optimal results, doing her moderation and balance and common sense approach to eating? Is it their fault? Does she blame them? That they didn't cut calories enough? That they didn't exercise on the treadmill enough? That mentality has to end. Dory says, I was 290 pounds on the balanced diet, 145 pounds on keto. Is definitely not healthy for me. Yeah. Keto Neogenesis Beth says the only excuse she has at this point for spewing her nonsense is because she is so intent on being right that she is being willfully ignorant. In my opinion, the hardest type of person to educate. And the problem is, I think she knows this stuff about keto. And this is kind of hedging the popularity of keto. Because if she feels like she could slow down the momentum of people trying a ketogenic diet, or at least discourage them enough to go, oh, if Jillian Michaels says no, she's helped so many people lose weight, she must know what she's talking about. People will buy it. They do. But I am hopeful that people are reading through what she's saying. And hopefully this Jimmy Rants here today is helping to educate and correct that disinformation that she's putting out there. Chris says, how about all our hunter ancestors? How do people like her justify human survival when farming was not possible or used? They want to say keto's a fad and it just popped up on the scene. But if you go back thousands of years to our hunter-gatherer ancestors, you're exactly right, Chris. They thrived on fat and protein. Very little carbohydrate. They eliminated a whole category of macronutrients. Eliminated it because it didn't exist in large quantities. And yet, we're here today. We survived as a people group. My cortisol's gone through the roof just listening about her BS, says Beth. Yeah. AGEs are fulfilled by carbohydrates. That's advanced glycation end products, by the way, AGEs. I hate this woman already, and I don't know who she is. Well, you're not missing much not knowing who she is, but she is very famous, having been on television as a personal trainer on a very popular show called The Biggest Loser. I think it's off the air now, but back in the day, she was kind of the bee's knees in the world of fitness and nutrition. Hey, Nancy, thanks for being here. If she would just try keto and healthy fast, maybe she wouldn't be so angry. I'm not going there. You should totally have her on your podcast. Like I said, I don't back away. I have talked to so many vegans and people that I don't agree with on my show. I would love to have Jillian on. I actually had Bob Harper on back in the day. I remember because I was in a hotel room. Christine was going through some chelation therapy, and we had to get an internet connection that was really sucky in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. It was when Christine was going through some of her health issues, and so she was going through chelation to get rid of some heavy metals in her body. And I remember I had that interview set up, and he would only give me 20 minutes, Bob Harper. but I was able to interview him, spotty connection and all. Go find it on Living La Vida Low Carb Show. But that was interesting. I doubt she would ever come on your podcast, but I'd love to see it come. Hey, I have asked. All I can do is ask. If they don't respond, I can't make them. Particularly disrespectful of all the good people in medical clinics that use keto to actually heal and reverse serious disease and extend lives. The ADA is using a more keto approach now. Can she even read? Yeah. The American Diabetes Association did recently, and I did a whole Jimmy Rants on this, recently come out and say, hey, carbohydrate restriction keto is an option in the arsenal if you want to treat type 2 diabetes. Wonderful. I think the American Heart Association will be a little slower to respond to something like that, but eventually they're going to have to turn. And at that point, what happens to people like Jillian Michaels and what they're saying about keto? It's kind of like political campaigns where they destroy each other in the general election and then they get elected, and then you're supposed to go, well, wait a minute. I thought this person was bad. And so it's just nasty the way it's happening. Used to go to the gym 3 times a week. Didn't help my diabetes, but keto has, says Ashton. Yeah. Common sense kept me common, fat, and sick. Yeah. We need a Jillian Jimmy debate. That would be epic, L. Andrew. Like I said, I am willing to talk to literally anybody on my podcast. Anybody that's listened to my show for years, that show's been around. I'm in my 14th year of doing that show. And I've talked to everybody and their mama on that show. And I don't mind talking to people that disagree with me. Yeah. Is it bad for me to send this to her? No, Dory, send it to her. I'm sure she'll find out about it. Did you hear that keto guy, Jimmy Moore, the keto clarity guy? He did a rant against you. Yeah, so that's fine. Keto got me off my meds. I'll never get back. Yeah, Ashton. Calorie restriction didn't work for me long term, says Dory. I went on a very calorie restricted diet. I wanted to bite the face off of anything, says Ashton. I think most of us, because your body was screaming at you to feed it fat. We are 70% fat in our brain, so it makes sense that you want to eat fat in the diet to keep that noggin balanced. That's the balance I'm looking for, Jillian. I'm an unmedicated type 2 diabetic with good blood sugar readings because of keto. Way to go, Natasha. Moderation. Ugh, says Kitty Caddick. For somebody, it's 5 grams of carbs. For somebody else, it's 50 grams. Somebody can eat a slice of cake and be back in ketosis the next day, but others can't. Metabolic differences must go into consideration. And yet when you hear people like Jillian Michaels, it's as if we're all lemmings. We're all exactly the same. We're all on equal footing when it comes to our metabolism. And it's just not true. Maybe Jillian's way works good for people with insulin sensitivity, but for people with insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes and very serious metabolic health issues, what she is promoting, being anti-keto, is very dangerous for those people. Keto is their answer to heal their bodies, not the problem. Bonnie Lene, low fat, low calorie is starving. It was for my husband and I, so there's proof that doing keto equals satisfaction, healing, and no hunger. And that's huge. That can't be discounted. I guess she's never been in ketosis herself, so it's easier for her to say, not wise, lady, said Kitty Caddick. So, calorie restricted diet under high carb or moderated diet will result in lower metabolism. Yeah, you'll slow your metabolism down, and that's exactly what we've seen from the Biggest Loser studies. Let's look at how that's worked once those contestants have gotten off the show that were under Jillian Michaels' care. Their metabolism slowed. So if you want a slower metabolism, listen to what Jillian Michaels has to say about diet. If you want to rev up your fat burning mode and get healthier than you ever thought possible, then go keto. I guess that's the moral of this story. Is it just me, or are we all getting our daily cardio watching this rant? I'm fired up today, Beth. I could not wait to get on here to talk about all of this nonsense. I was trying to print this out to do this rant yesterday afternoon, but I couldn't get my printer to work right. But I'm glad I did it this morning because I needed a good night's sleep to just go full bore on this today. It's a miracle she didn't mention ketoacidosis. Yeah, I have her truth about keto one, and I'm trying to see. I think she knows better at this point. Although she did say in her article, The Truth About Keto, ketosis is considered a state of medical emergency. Can the body survive without carbohydrates or very limited carbohydrates? Sure, but only for a time. Even still, the body can the body truly thrive? While you may have managed to contain or even eliminate insulin-related disease, you're potentially incurring a whole host of other issues. Jillian doesn't mention anything about what those, quote, issues are. Ketosis is not medical emergency. Ketosis is normality in your metabolism. We've been over carbohydrated. I just made up another word. Somebody was making fun of me yesterday for making up words. I have a lot of Jimmyism words, but we've been over carbohydrated. We have. We need to make that a hashtag. Hashtag over carbohydrated. Because that's what's happened. And so it is not a medical emergency state. That's just fear-mongering. So stop it, Jillian Michaels. Keto's ruining her business. All these hearts are going to break Instagram. Thank you for that, by the way. She is too proud to admit, or rather educate herself. Unfortunately, it's to the detriment of her sickly followers. I appreciate you speaking out against the people spreading false reports on keto. That's my job. It really is hurting people that could have keto, possibly saving them from worsening their diabetes. Well, that's why I'm doing these Jimmy rants. And hopefully somebody watching this on YouTube or watching it live on Instagram or on the replay, it's changing someone's mind about maybe where she's spread disinformation. They're realizing, oh my gosh, I was bamboozled. Don't get me started on Jillian Michaels, says Heather. Heather, yeah, you know, Heather Kuhn, she's a cancer survivor thanks to keto. And yeah, she's teaching people all the time about keto. And yeah, I'm sure it's frustrating. That's why we love you. You do celebrate people's health, even if it's another way. We can trust you because you're honest and care for the health over your wallet. Bonnie, thank you for that. I really do want people to find health. I don't care how they get there. Yes, I'm a keto advocate. I'm the keto guy. But if people find health through any other means, I'm not going to say, oh, well, that's discredited because you didn't do it the right way. No. How stupid is that? How stupid is that? And if that's what Jillian Michaels is doing by being anti-keto, shame on you. Shame on you, Jillian Michaels, if that's what your modus operandi is. I don't think it has anything to do with knowledge or a lack of knowledge, and everything to do with riding the keto popularity wave. She's just getting buzz, being controversial. Heather, you've nailed it. I think that's the main thing. She had been out of the limelight now that The Biggest Loser is no longer on television, and so being out of the limelight, she needed to stick her foot back in the light again. And this is one way to do it. Go anti-keto when keto is at its apex in popularity. Losing weight and doing a lifestyle are totally different, says Ketoing Kimberly. Yeah. Has she helped so many people lose weight? I haven't met any, but I know lots of people that lost weight on keto. Well, she has, Keto Cricket, helped people lose weight. What I haven't seen is long-term sustainability of health. And a lot of those people that were her contestants on The Biggest Loser, yes, they may have gained back some weight, but did they really improve their health? We can't see that until insulin lowers. Can you lower insulin, by the way, eating a low-calorie diet? Yeah, you sure can. Because if it's low calorie, it's low everything. So therefore, in an indirect way, it's actually carbohydrate restriction that's then giving the benefits. But it's a slippery slope because once you starve yourself, which is what that is, when you underfeed yourself calories, 1,200, 800, 1,000 calories, whatever, underfeed yourself calories, before long, your body's going to just scream at you, slowing down your metabolism to try to match your energy intake. It's going to be problematic for you. And then when you start eating normal levels of calories again, you start gaining weight. It's a lot better if you tell people not to eat food at all, aka fasting, than to tell people to eat in a hypocaloric state, which is what people like Jillian want you to do. Eat balanced, don't eat too much, blah, 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 blah. And keto's the bad guy? That diet has destroyed the health of so many people. The Biggest Loser contestants all gained their weight back and more. Where's the results of her way? Yeah, My Low Carb Path. Not all of them gained it back, but a good majority of them did. They did a whole study looking at former contestants, and a huge, like almost 4 out of 5 of them gained back most of the weight that they lost. Because again, they're not teaching them good lifestyle, permanent and healthy lifestyle change tactics. They're just talking about quick weight loss tactics. And some of the things that they did for the weigh-ins, you guys, I've talked about it on my podcast before. I've had Kai Hibbard and Bill Germanakos and Isabeau Miller and some of these former contestants on The Biggest Loser. And a lot of them said people went to extremes, taking diuretics and doing all of this really, really dangerous stuff just so they could get that final weigh-in as low as they possibly could. It was a dangerous show. I'm glad it's off the air now because that was not healthy. And I think if we want to really help change the lives of people, we need to point them in the direction of things that are actually going to make them healthy over the long term. And that includes teaching them strategies for getting there. And that's why I'm a keto advocate. Keto is a strategy. Is it the strategy? No. You hear me talking about a lot of other things in addition to keto, things like fasting, things like high-intensity interval training, things like infrared sauna and ice baths, and some of the other things that I've talked about in my work. Those are all important parts of a healthy diet as well and healthy lifestyle as well. So neglecting that is silly. Cooking and cheering while listening. As an influencer, she could be so helpful to many, either adapt or get left behind. But boy, Jillian, says keto for real life people. Yes, Nancy, you are right. I can't lie, I just sent her this rant. Well, Dory, I hope she watches it. You'd have to have your control temper button with Jillian because I could see her trying to rile you up because you're knowledgeable and nice. Well, I am nice, but I'm also firm when I have a discussion. I had the veganist of the vegan, Dr. John McDougall, on my Living La Vida Low Carb show, episode 686. Go look that one up, you guys. And while I was nice and kind to him, as I am with all my guests, I was firm. And he got really ugly with me, and I was still kind and firm and asking my questions, and he got upset with me, and it's all good. So if that happens with Jillian, I've been through that before. This is not new. She knows that's her job and income is in danger. Well, Crystal, that's sad. I think adapt with the times is the best way to do it. Never stayed on a so-called traditional diet more than a month. With keto, 6 months now, down 51 pounds. I think I'll stay with keto, says Keto Healing Coach. Yeah. A lot of people are finding that. They just try it. And hopefully, if you're watching this right now and you've been discouraged watching people like Jillian Michaels and other people trying to say all these dastardly things about keto, can I just encourage you just to pick up a copy of Keto Clarity or some other keto book to learn about what this way of eating is all about? Because you can hear propaganda and innuendo and sensationalism like what you hear from Jillian Michaels. Or you can actually learn what it is and realize it's not this grand enemy that it's being made out to be. It's a healthy and permanent lifestyle change that will help you live a long and healthy life. Science doesn't lie. Keto is the way to heal the body at a cellular level, says sassy keto nurse. Yeah. I read that babies are in ketosis when they're breastfeeding, so how can it not be natural or good for us? Yeah, Lilla Grand, I actually interviewed a pediatric physician, Dr. Mary Newport, who knows a lot about ketones, and she said, oh yeah, when babies are born, They're already pretty mildly ketotic at that point. And then, of course, the breast milk is high in fat, saturated fat, all that dastardly saturated fat. If it's so dangerous, why is it in breast milk? And then babies get the benefits of the ketones. I'm going to have to test my blood sugar after this rant. Alberto, yeah, I'm wearing and I'm going to talk about this in another Jimmy Rants, but I'm wearing a Freestyle Libre right now, which gives me my blood sugar readings on demand. So, yeah, I'm sure it's not doing quite well for me right now, along with blood pressure. Perhaps her diet is causing her thought process not to work. Yeah, Donna, I don't doubt it. Ashton says, "Oh my God, shut the bleep up, Jillian." Yes. You're looking especially alive for someone who should be dead from the lack of carbs, says Beth. Yeah, I've had basically no carbs in a week. None. I don't eat them. They're not necessary, Jillian Michaels. I do just fine. And I'm about as even-keeled and sharp-witted as you'll ever meet somebody. Because of keto. Keto did that for me. Not a balanced approach. She thinks fasting is an eating disorder, anorexia, or God knows what else, says Kitty Cat. Yeah, I'm literally, when's the last time I ate? It's been a little while. It's been almost like 16, 18 hours now. Yeah, she would think that I have an eating disorder or something. Welcome. Oh, you like the over carbohydrated? Yes, Crystal. For show. She won't accept your offer to appear on your podcast because she knows she can't intelligently debate this topic. And I've heard her on her podcast talk. She's pretty fun to listen to when you listen to her podcast. But yeah, I wonder how she would do in my house, so to speak. Being on my show. Again, I would welcome her in and be very kind to her and complimentary and do all the things that I do on my show. I don't Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly people on my show. I'm very kind and respectful and give people a chance to share their message. And then gently bring in my points, and then we have a conversation and a debate. It's not this ugliness that you see with a lot of debate these days. So hopefully she does take me up on that offer. The real evil in what she's doing is this: how many people will continue to suffer and die from diet-related diseases because of this disinformation? That's the thing, Kat. It's why I'm doing this Jimmy Rants here today. Somebody needed to respond to the nonsense. And there's a whole lot of nonsense in this, the truth about keto. It should have been called the truth about what I think of keto. Not the truth about keto, because it's very clear from all these things that I talked about in this Jimmy Rants today, she don't know jack about keto. Most of her ilk will say keto is unsustainable. That's the biggest lie ever. It's the satiety that leads to sustainability. Yes, Grandma does keto. And that's the reason why I promote this so strongly, is like, look, you're not hungry. That's a good metabolic state. You're not hungry because you've got that lower insulin level. You're not stoking the hunger hormones that keep you going to the refrigerator. Why is that a bad thing? You can go long periods of time without eating. Why is that a bad thing? So many good things come from keto, and yet she's not acknowledging that. Maybe ask her what can you possibly say, do, or show her to convince her keto is healing. Can she dispute the numbers and the science? At this point, I don't think it's about that. I think it's about she's thriving and enjoying being the anti-keto person. I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope that she truly has concerns and maybe she could be persuaded. But I think she's doing this very meticulously and with a purpose in mind, and that is, hey, I need to get my name back in the news again. People will quote me because I've been on television. I'm the anti-keto person. And I wonder how many of her listeners and followers and people that follow her work, I wonder how many of those people have been turned off by this, and she's now lost followers because of this strident position against keto. Because a lot of them probably did find success doing a low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat diet. That show harmed the population, The Biggest Loser, by glorifying eating like a bird and exercising excessively to the point of vomiting sometimes, so harmful in the long run to the mindset of health. Landrew, that show was never about health. It was always about entertainment on television. Everybody, oh, it was so inspirational because of the weight loss. But we never really saw triglyceride levels, inflammation levels, insulin levels, all of these things that are indicators of good, prosperous health. And then you never saw them do, when they first started the show, they used to do a where are they now kind of thing with the former contestants. But then they had to stop doing that show because not enough of them were still healthy. They had all declined in their health. And so that should have been the telltale sign. Hey, we gotta shift gears here. But it was all about let's make money off this reality show. And they did. They made a ton of money off the reality show, off of all the products that were associated with it. They sold books. They had a Biggest Loser program that you could buy and blah, blah, blah. And it was just horrible. I'm virtually zero carb and thriving now. I put 4 autoimmune diseases into remission. Take that, Jillian, says Joette. Yes. I can't stand it. Every time Jillian releases a new keto uneducated video, thousands of Marines lose their minds. You tell them, Jimmy, fasting focused and optimal keto and carnivore equals life. Yeah. She has to try and sell her products somehow, especially the fake fat burners. Keto Tiny and Village. If that's true, it's a shame, because I want people to be healthy, and it doesn't sound like she has that same goal. Kitty Caddick, if she is silent after your invitation, then she doesn't care about the truth behind all that. And I don't think she does, Kat. I think at the end of the day, she's protecting the niche that she's carved out. And the niche she's carved out right now is, I'm anti-keto, now get over it. I think she does it specifically to rile people like me up. Good job, Jillian, because you done good today riling me up. Because I did a whole Jimmy Rants just on you today. People confuse losing weight with good health. Exactly, Alberto. It's one thing I will continue to hammer in my work is weight loss does not equal health gain. And the lack of losing weight on the body isn't necessarily equivalent to you being extremely unhealthy. Hopefully those messages are getting out there. I used to eat a pint of ice cream while I watched The Biggest Loser. Nancy, I bought the books and I failed. All of it was misinformation and unsustainable. Although you're probably more typical of most people. They watched The Biggest Loser while they were still eating crappy garbage. I follow a former contestant, Sarah Gilbert, on Instagram. She gained all her weight back plus more. Her metabolism got destroyed. She's getting ready to have gastric bypass surgery. Yeah, it's sad. A lot of those former contestants, they're not in a good spot. All right, guys. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, this very long Jimmy Rants, thank you for sticking with it, you guys, because this was one that was too important. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, somebody needs to respond to Jillian Michaels. Well, guess what? Jimmy Moore just responded to Jillian Michaels. And I got one message for her. Shut up! Just shut up, Jillian, because you don't know jack about keto. That's it, you guys, for this episode of Jimmy Rants. As always, go to jimmyrants.com and you can see how this works. Even you, Jillian, you can see how this works. Starts off on Instagram, doing a live video a couple of times a day. So go follow me there at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And once you're there, you can engage live, just like all these beautiful people did down here today. If you miss it live, you can actually watch the replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. But then it disappears after 24 hours. Pop on over to YouTube if you missed it. And definitely, guys, share this video from YouTube. Go look up Jimmy Rants on YouTube, and you can see all the past episodes of this here show. And then finally, we have a best of the best moments of Jimmy Rants on a Jimmy Rants podcast. And I can't wait to see what my producer does with this show. he's going to have a good time with this one. Jimmy Rants Podcast over on Apple Podcasts. So go follow me there, listen to the show there, and also leave a review there. Really would help to get the message out about this. A lot of really great content on there. I want to say we're over 40 episodes on the Jimmy Rants podcast. So go listen and subscribe there as well on Apple Podcasts. JimmyRants.com has the links to all of this stuff that I talked about here today. I told you it was going to be epic, you guys. Thanks for sticking it out. So until next time, we'll see you then.